I don't really like standing on railroad tracks waiting for a train load of 80 cars of coal barreling. They didn't even barrel, they kind of nudged through Massachusetts, beep, 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 beep. But I started out maybe 2018 or so, 2017 and 18, and Jay and I and several Quakers formed a climate action working group out of New England, and we wanted to look at where's an evil source, where's a symbol of the empire of fossil fuel that is local, but also is uh, is way past its time. And people knew this. I didn't even know it up to that point, but the Bow Power Plant outside of Concord, New Hampshire, is a huge coal plant still going on, still subsidized by the state of New Hampshire, and it with no expiration date in place. And that old anger rose up in me and saying, that's not right. That will destroy the future for our children. And we did a pilgrimage from a group of Quakers, and we invited lots of Quakers to join us from the seacoast of New Hampshire. And we walked for, was it 10 days or something? Maybe a week. We walked over to the Bow Power Plant on the Concord River. The process of knowing if it's just a strong emotion that's motivating me and if it's a leading is to check in with, is this anger also righteous, which is sort of what the prophets of old in the Bible talk about, righteous anger. And so I depend on Jay and Carole when I'm doing a leading, and I depend on my Quaker community to check me. Is this fury something to temper and work with? And often I have been able to take my deep sadness and my anger and have gone out to do witness in the community. And I like how Quakers use the word witness. To me, I get tired when Jay and I are sitting on railroad tracks and trying to stop coal trains when people say, oh, you're such climate activists. I'm like, it's not just action. It's a whole set of principles, and it's a community, and it's a system I'm trying to address. I'm not trying to just stop that coal train. That's when I have a sense that I'm following a leading, when I sense that the system is so screwed up that somebody has to reveal the truth about the system.
For me, the process of following a leading has been a sense of having a almost an irrevocable kind of drawing me forward, and a draw that goes through or over or past the speed bumps, the log jams, the places where I get stuck or frustrated, and I continue to be drawn. And so there's the sense of like inexorable motion sometimes to it, that I have entered into some stream that is not of my own directing. but placed here for a purpose which I'm not entirely sure is my own.
One thing that I felt in the process of the leading that this was going to work for me to work on the No Coal, No Gas campaign is because I have felt your contribution of song. And we all know Emma's statement of like, if I can't dance, I don't want to be part of your revolution. But I just felt like the singing that we did on Coltrane, on the Coltrane tracks, and also on the pilgrimages to stop the Bow coal plant. I just felt like I knew when you and others broke out into song. I remember Judith Black breaking out onto song. It was sort of at midnight, with the cold December when we were all thinking about getting arrested. And so just when they're singing, my heart just leaps, almost like that leaping for joy that Fox talks about. So just want to say that that contributed a lot to me knowing that this was right for me.
For me, making the decision to participate in stopping the coal train, I had, for decades, I had protested in different ways, but that was the first time that it felt a little scary to me. I felt like I was putting myself physically at risk and at risk to be arrested. Other things I had done, I hadn't risked being arrested. It felt so important to me to participate in that regardless of my fear and my apprehension about it and not knowing what would happen if I got arrested, not knowing what the result of that would be, I was like totally there. Was totally there. The work that we had done, that No Coal, No Gas had done before that, to ground us and get us ready. So, and I don't remember the details now, but we had participated in some times before that where we had silence. Minga mentioned the singing, but part of it was also silence and grounding and mutual support, the idea of mutual support and focusing on why were we doing this? So each one of us there had come to an understanding of why this mattered to us. And so I was totally there, heart and soul. I was totally there with that.
And Martin Luther King called it, make sure before you do any civil disobedience or holy obedience, is one phrase I use, is are you purifying yourself? Now, I don't know how Martin Luther King went about doing that, because I certainly cannot see myself being pure. I'm not saintly, I'm not angelic, but what I get from him is prepare yourself inwardly. Know that the outward action, yes, is strategic and maybe even effective, but know inside your heart that you are ready. And of course, I just take it to prayer, and I invite my community to pray with me, and I get a clearness committee, and I have my local community with me, and then I talk it over with Carole, and then I see that Jay is sending out invitations, and then I feel like, oh, so way is opening here to do this. But I'm still really curious as to how Quakers do that inward preparation that may be different how activists normally go about things.
For me, it has been clear that I need to divide my energy and not do only climate work, because climate work is also social justice work. It's very clear to me that I can lay it out one way so they seem very separate, but they're really not. They're really not. So I'm drawn in multiple ways. So I guess the main thing is it's not always the same how the leading feels. And it's dependent very much on my being present. I'm going to just say present to the divine. What do I have? Everything I am, everything I have is energy. It's a form of energy. What am I going to do with my energy? I want to focus it. I want to be present to witness. I just want to be present.
I think for me, the outward goals of reducing harm, while always important, have always been secondary for me to attempting to live into something that might approximate or be in the direction of what Jesus talked about as the kingdom. And it's the creation of the relationships and trust and liberation and community and love and growth and challenge, an experience of inward power, for me, which is really where the life of the thing is, and that we might reduce harm is a benefit. I want us to put into practice a demonstration and make a witness to a new way of being, to a new life, and then build a community around that. And
If I have a leading, I hunger for a meeting for worship where I can just review the leading. Should I go to Bo and stop my work and lose salary, but spend time on the stopping the coal train, and maybe have to go to court for months and months afterwards? Some of those consequences are part of the action. So in preparation, I do often have clearness committees in my local meeting, but I also find that being in any meeting for worship, online or in person, I just need to have the presence of community and knowing that there are other seekers asking for God to manifest God's presence amongst us.
And it comes back to witnessing, to being present. Being present. That's what we have to do.
there's a lot of things I could say about support from friends, whether that's, there's been a ton of it for me, whether that has been financial or logistical or moral or in-person hand holding, or hours and hours and hours of oversight and support committees. I mean, just so much. It's humbling and terrifying, it's terrifying now as I question and doubt the authenticity of the leadings and truth of the leadings that I followed, to wonder, how I can find support that isn't just encouragement, that goes really deep. And I'm grateful right now to my current support and oversight committee in Portland Friends meeting. The last meeting I went to with them, I was going in, or I went in and said that I believe it's time to lay down that committee, because I believe the leading or the call or the ministry that I've carried has been withdrawn. And and for the first time in my experience with an oversight and support committee, I experienced them as going beyond supportive and saying yes to whatever Jay wants, and really having a harder edge to them, and a willingness to push back and to dig into the messy, intricate, intimate, real stuff that's going on, and to contemplate walking together through that mess, in a way that felt really, really like the love that I needed at that time. So I'm super grateful, and also, in my experience, that's not been the norm. That it's easier for friends to, and just generally, not just necessarily in the support and oversight committees that I've had, but it's very easy for friends to, like, oh, I'm so glad about what you're doing, and not really interrogate that deeply, and really not help me or us together get to a real solid place. It's so easy for friends um, to be supportive, and it's very hard in our culture and in this world that we live in to say no. Um, and so I'm curious how we can grow those muscles to a better discerned path that is the Quaker way.
Act in your life as if the truth was happening. The invitation is now, and we are becoming the people that we hope God would want.